Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Jayam Vishupad Paramasa Parivacharya Stotha Shri Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Hoko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mai Pradam Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Samavita Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitya Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. So today I will conclude with the last 6 years of Bhakti Tirtha Swami's life on this planet. But I'll start off with Hare Krishna Prabhu. But I will start off probably to make us a little hungry. Maharaj used to call himself a spoiled Cleveland brat. He actually called himself that. We never gave him that name. He gave himself the title. And he has mentioned it many times because the reason being is he liked foods, prasadam, that was not good for his health. All the bad stuff, you know, lasagna, pizza, donuts, mac and cheese, kofta balls, paneer pakoras, you know, all the bad stuff. So that was a nice, and when it comes to sweets, he likes cheesecakes. Loves cheesecakes, lots of cheese, lots of, you know, stuff like that. So there was a pastime that he was returning from Africa. And that day we had darshan at the Institute House in Gitanagari. And I made lemon pie, not knowing that he would have it. I just made it just to try it out for the first time. And at that time, I think he wanted a dessert. So I cut a lemon pie and I gave it to him. And he really liked it so much. He says, make more of this for me. So the very next day, I made him more lemon pie because he pretty much ate the whole pie. That 9-inch piece. I mean, seriously. So then a couple of days or so, I made another pie, and that was on Sunday program. I remember that. I made it in the morning because you got to let it set in the fridge, you know. So we went for the Sunday program, and we came back, and we dropped him off at the Institute House, and then we went back to the temple to get some prasadam, because there was no prasadam at home at the Institute House. And when we got back to the temple, there was no prasadam. Prasadam was finished. So I told my husband, I think we have to fast this evening, you know. And I said, no, wait, there's some pie in the refrigerator, because I just made a whole new pie. And when I came back, to my Guruji's house, my godbrother was leaving after doing his haircut. He's the only one. Jagannath Pandit is the only one that knows how to cut my spiritual master's shikha. He's the only one. And he did it until he left his body. No one could do it the way he can. And so he finished the haircut, and he was leaving as he was coming in. And I walked in the kitchen and I see this pie on the counter. And the pie was completely butchered. Butchered. It wasn't even cut properly. It was completely butchered. And I thought that my god brother was the one that butchered the pie and cut it. And as I was getting upset about it, my spiritual master rang the intercom and said, Anasuya, bring me the whole pie. Then I realized that he was the one that butchered it. Because he doesn't know how to cut a pie, he just knows how to serve. So he butchered the whole pie and served himself. And since then, whenever he comes, I always make him lemon pie. He loves lemon pie, he likes lemon cake, lots of cheesecakes, lots of desserts. That's why he calls themselves spoiled, leaf and brat, actually. There was one pastime when it came to prasadam, it was Rath Yatra, a lot of sannyasis came, and for some reason, he was craving for French fries. And there was no French fries at the Rath Yatra feast. So Mother Rajalita, my senior god sister, was a very good cook actually, she made French fries the way he likes it. And she gave him a plate of French fries, not one, not two, but several plates. He was so much in the mood of the French fries that he gave a lecture called French Fries Leela. It's actually recorded, you will get it on YouTube. So if you want to hear the class on French Fries Leela, it's all about French fries. And it's so hilarious that we were thinking, why is he giving a class on French fries? But that's what he called us. So, and he called the class name French Fries Leela. So that's how much he actually, was very much into the not so good food for his health. Every time he comes, we make him all his favorites. There was one thing with Bhakti Swami, he was very present in his life of his disciples. Very, very present. Every disciple who had children, he named all their children. He had a naming ceremony. He will specifically be present, and he will name all his disciples' children. Even both my daughters were also named by him. And he would have a complete naming ceremony. He would give them a name, and then he would have us offer the child to the deities, as an offering to the Lord. Completely, he did that. So he was very present in every child's birth, and their naming ceremony. And sometimes when the mother's going into labor, he will tell the husbands, as soon as the child pops out, you better call me. And he will wait for the phone call. He was very, very present. He was also very present for, every child's, when they go to school, the Vidya Samskara. He was very present. He would be there. For the Annaprasana, he was present. He never missed any of them. He wanted to be present to build a relationship with the future of ISKCON. So he was there for the naming ceremony, he would be there for the Annaprasana ceremony, he would be there for the Vidya Samskara ceremony, always, always present. There was one pastime with my daughter, my second daughter. My second daughter. When she had her grade ceremony, her Annaprasana ceremony, it took place on Purnima Day in 2002, because she was born in 2001. She was about 9 months old, and we wanted to have it when he was there. And was she 9 months old? Yeah, she was 9 months old. No, she was 7, because that girl couldn't wait to eat. When she was 4 months, she was already hankering for grains. So we had to control her until my Gurudev came back from Africa to Tirtha to have the grain ceremony. She was a handful. So I remember it was a grain ceremony for my second daughter, and my spiritual master was giving class, Guru Purnima class. And her name is Vishaka, she's Rajagopi now. But when she was young, Vishaka, she told my Gurudev said, bring Vishaka to me. She sat on his lap, and the funny thing was, he was giving a lecture. She was sitting on his lap, and he was holding the bowl of kheer. And he was giving the lecture. And this girl is looking at the bowl of kheer. And the lecture went on, and she was making meaning feed me my kheer, I'm sitting on your lap. So at one point, she couldn't wait. She actually screamed in the mic. And Maharaj said, okay, Vishaka, you are 7 months old going on 92 years. I will feed you your kheer and I'll stop giving a lecture. So he fed her the kheer and cut the lecture short. That's how present he was in the life of the children. Very, very present. He knew all their name. One powerful incident that happened in 97 was my god sister Tirtha. She was carrying the first child, and the child died in her womb. It was a stillbirth, and it was a month of May. And at the time, my spiritual master Maharaj was attending GBC meetings in Dallas. And a week after her due date, she couldn't feel the child moving. She went to the midwife, and the midwife said, "You want to go to the hospital." And when we went to the hospital, they found out that the child is no longer alive. So the news went to my spiritual master in Dallas when he was attending GBC meetings. And what he did was he told his GBC board members, "My disciple needs me." He actually left the Dallas meeting and flew back to Gitanagari to be with his disciple going through this difficult time. It's a very powerful time for all of us. And at the time I was pregnant with my first daughter Brenda, and I was 3 months. So here am I pregnant, and here's my god sister who lost her child. It was a very difficult moment for her and for me. And I remember at the time, I didn't want to be around her because I didn't want her to feel pain. She's already in pain, losing the child in her womb. And at that time, so he came back from the GD meetings. He said, "I gotta go. My disciple needs me. I'll catch up with you guys later in the disciples meeting." And he came back into Gitanagari, and the doctor said that we have to induce the labor. And she says, "Let me try natural," but they said there's no contractions. So they gave her something called Pitocin to give her some contractions. And I remember, this is real. From 10 o'clock p.m. every night, Achyuta, her husband, my other god sister, and my spiritual master would go on night walks with her just to bring upon the labor. Maharaj actually would walk with his disciple just to give her the support to have her bring on that labor. He didn't do it one night, he did it several nights. And after a few nights, nothing was happening. So finally, my Maharaj told her, "Achyuta, you gotta let the soul go. You gotta let it go." It's very difficult for her. He said, "The soul is around you. It's time to let it go." So finally she went to the hospital and they did an induction and got the child out. Happened to be a baby girl. And I remember at the time and interestingly also when she was in the hospital going through labor, my spiritual master was in the hospital waiting for the soul to come out, that baby. He never left her side, never did. Very powerful. And then he told me, "Anasuya, we want to save your baby, so you stay back, you don't come." At the time we were staying in his house, we were still living in his house. He says, "No, your baby is fine. I don't want you to come yet." But I wanted to go so bad to the hospital because me and my cousin were very, very, very close. And I had no choice but to stay back because the guru said, "Don't come." Then after a while, when she gave birth, he called me from the hospital and he said, "Anasuya, come." I said, "Thank you. I want to see her." I said, "Come." So I went with the baby, and I was 3 months pregnant with Brenda. I went with I went and I saw the baby, and my spiritual master named the baby Lilavati Govinda Devi Dasi. And the reason he said she left is because she only had 9 months of karma to burn in the womb and go back to God. She only had 9 months of karma. That's all she had. And what Achyuta, my god sister, was doing is every day she was reading to the baby Bhagavatam. So when Maharaj found that out, he said to her, "You were a carrier of a powerful soul. It's very painful to lose a child, but know that Krishna used you as a vehicle and an instrument. And all she had to hear was Bhagavatam, and she was liberated. So you actually liberated a soul from your womb. Never think that was something bad." That's what he said. I'll never forget that day. And he says whenever miscarriages happen, there's a purpose behind it. And the purpose is very, very high. Very high. It's not, we tend to blame it on the wife, probably it's, the wife's weakness. We'll blame it on the husband, it's the husband's weakness. But we forget to look at the spiritual aspect. So Maharaj was teaching us to rise above from the material and go to the spiritual. Because at the end of the day, even the miscarriages is planned by Krishna. Nothing happens without the sanction of the Lord. Nothing, including miscarriages. So he taught me that, he taught us that. Because before I had Vrinda and before I had my second daughter, I had 2 miscarriages. And that's what he told me. He said, "Anasuya, you only had 1 month to carry the soul. The soul just needed to hear the holy name for a month, and the soul left. So never think that it's you or weak or whatever. It's all arranged by the Lord." So that was a very powerful lesson for all of us, that such things happen. We have to always try to find a Krishna conscious spiritual point, not the material, That was one of very, very, very powerful lesson. But Maharaj, literally, he gave up all meetings, and he was in several meetings at the time. The whole month, he even performed the ritual rites for the soul. I remember that they took the child, she was a baby girl, so small, I remember she was so small, dressed in pink dress, and they cremated the body, and they brought the ashes, and they had a ceremony for her in Kirtanagari. And if any of you have been to Kirtanagari, there's a river by the back of the temple. We call that the Yamuna River. And the reason we call it Yamuna River is because Satsrup Maharaj, many, many years ago, brought Yamuna water from Vrindavan and sprinkled in that river and bestowed it to be Yamuna River. So that's why we call that river Yamuna River, because the actual Yamuna water from Vrindavan came over here and got purified. That's why it's called Yamuna River. So the ashes of this baby, Lilavati Govinda, was actually sprinkled on that Yamuna River in Kirtanagari. And I remember when Maharaj was walking into the water behind the couple. Very emotional point. Very, very emotional moment. He was, he told the husband, the father, sprinkle the ashes. And I remember seeing my spiritual master watching the ashes going down the river and crying tears. I actually saw my spiritual master crying tears to see that soul going back to Godhead. Beautiful moment. So Maharaj was very present in every of his disciples' children's life. Even when the children had school concerts, he would go for it, believe it or not. Oh my God. He did. He was cool. He was cool like that. People would say he's crazy, but he was cool like that. I remember that he went to one of my god sister's daughters' 3 girls. They had a ballet concert. And he was criticized for it. Oh, why is a sannyasi going to watch a bunch of ballet, kids in those ballet dresses? He was criticized for it. He says, I didn't go to see the ballet kids. I went to support my grand disciples. Because they need me. And I want to be there for them to know that they know that I love them. So he attended all their recitals, piano recitals, music recitals, dance concerts. He went there just to give them support because these are the children that he named. Every one of them he named. So he was very present in every child's presence. In fact, we even had a small, temporary, for a few years, we had a day school, like a guru school in Gitanagari. And every time they had picnics, he would go. But he always says, make sure your pizza there. He loved pizza. He loves pizza. Anything that's full of cheese and carbohydrates and sugar. That was his thing. Although he wasn't supposed to have it, but he would, he would have a lot of that. When there was Sunday, when there was school graduation, he would go. When there was recitals, he would go. He made sure he was present in every devotee's and children's life because that was community building. He focused a lot on community building more than the infrastructure of Gitanagari, was because he said the infrastructure can be developed, but when there's no relationships, what's the use? What's the use? So he would say, let's focus on relationships. Let's focus on community building. So we did just the maintenance of the temple, paying the bills, just to make it run, just to make it function. But he focused a lot on community relationships, community building, women's sangha, men's sangha. I think yesterday I was sharing a pastime that he loves to ride bikes, my spiritual master. So every Rath Yatra, the day after Rath Yatra, that's when devotees are dead. They're like, their gas tank in their body is empty. So what he will do is he will organize a bike ride to get the devotees, excited, like, okay, let's move this body. So he will tell every devotee, whoever has a bike, meet me in the temple. And then he'll ask Ekavira, where's my bike? And we'll say, Gurudev, your bike is flat tire. So let's go to Bali's wood shop and get the tire and pump it, because I want my bike, So we'll go get him a bike, and he'll have all the devotees go meet him at the temple, and then they will do a bike race. And they will do a bike race about 2-3 miles, and up to one devotee's house. His name is Tirtha Prabhu, and Tirtha Prabhu had a pool, a swimming pool. It was never cleaned, by the way. So Maharaj, being the ecstatic, out of this world, wild spiritual master, he would jump in that pool and everyone else would jump in it. And when they jumped in the pool, they found a dead frog. That's how infested it was. So one devotee said, Maharaj, there's a dead frog in this pool. It's infested. And someone said, it's okay, we leave our body, we'll leave it with Maharaj, we'll go back to Godhead. We have nothing to worry. As long as we're with the spiritual master, we'll go back to Godhead with him. He'll take us back. That's what he would say. So he did the day after every Rath Yatra, he'd have a bike race. Again, just to keep the community alive. Just to keep every one of us very excited in Krishna consciousness. That was his life. He gave his life for the devotees. He gave his life for every child. He knew every child by name. Every child by name. There was one kid, I don't know where he is now, but there was one kid, he was like 10 years old. And he told Maharaj, will you accept me as your disciple? And he was only 10 years old. He was so drawn by his love. And Maharaj said, I will, but finish school and come to me. Don't skip school, don't come to me, finish school, But of course, Maharaj left me before he could even give him shelter. But that was Maharaj. He was a very, very present, very, very present. When his GBC services started increasing in his life, he traveled a lot. So much so that Jagataka Swami had a personal disciple who was his ticket agent. So that devotee was booking all of Maharaj's tickets, but somehow it wasn't agreeing with his plan. So then I was carrying, at the time I was pregnant with my second daughter, and that was a difficult pregnancy because my second daughter sucked the life as out of me. You know that pastime of Krishna and Putana? When Putana, when he was sucking Putana and he was sucking the life as out of her, yeah, that's how it was with my second daughter. Because she was very intense. So the first 2 months, I felt like I was going to die because I couldn't eat anything but just water and saltine crackers. So the second month, I remember going to the hospital because I was very weak. I couldn't eat. I was just vomiting. I couldn't eat anything, just crackers and water. And I was losing weight. So I went to the doctor, to the hospital, ER, and I was admitted, and they said, yeah, you're very low in salts. So they gave me 4 packs of IV. And at the end, I asked the doctor, I said, how's the baby? Oh, the child is fine. I said, yeah, she's sucking the life out of me. So what happened was, because of that, my energy was very low. So in the 4th month of my pregnancy, my service was low, everything was low, I couldn't focus. So my spiritual master said to my senior god sister, give the ticket service to Anasuya. And I told my spiritual master, Gurudev, I'm so tired. This child is sucking the life out of me. I cannot even eat. He says, that's why I'm giving you the service. You're too focused on your child. You're too worried about your child and your pregnancy. Use your senses in my service. That's what he said. I said, okay, So he gave me a very difficult service. And it worked actually, So it's funny because with my first pregnancy, with my first daughter, with Vrinda, my service was a full-time pujari. I was doing altar form 4 times a day, for 8.5 months, And with my second daughter, I was the ticket agent. So my services were so I was absorbed in that. So there was one time when my spiritual master wanted to do a 7-country, multi-level, multi-city trip. And he told me, Anasuya, get me a ticket, less than 2,000. I said, good. Where do I find a ticket of $2,000 with 7 countries? Leg connection. And I said, you can do it. I said, I can. I said, okay, I'm going to try it. Now, remember those days there was Yahoo was just new at that time, so I couldn't, I was still referring to yellow pages. So I called, I kid you not, I called every travel agent in North America. Because any ticket I got, he was saying, no, too expensive, you can do better. No, you can do better. I said, Gurudev, then you got to change your connection cities, Because he wanted to go from US to South America, then South America to Croatia, then Croatia to Africa, then Africa to Mauritius. It was crazy. So I said, Gurudev, if you give me the liberty, I can switch your itinerary, I can bring it down. He says, yeah, but don't change too much. I said, now how do I do that and get a less than $2,000 ticket? And somehow, I remember working on that for 1 month. So much so that every night, my husband can be the witness of it. In my dreams, I'm talking and I'm saying Mauritius, Zagreb, Ukraine, UK, Mauritius, Zagreb. I'm chanting the names of the tickets. That's how bad it was. So then I finally found a ticket for $1,700. I'm talking about, this was 2001. I was very happy. I said, good, less than 2,000. So I called him and I said, Gurudev, 1,700. He goes, not good enough. I said, but you said less than 2,000. He says, no, you can do better. He says, the mission continues. I said, Gurudev, this is impossible. This is mission impossible. He says, no, it continues, it's possible. So I searched. Then I found one for 1,500. I called him. He says, mission is incomplete. So finally, I had to switch all his itinerary, and I found one for 1,300. He said, you passed the test. And that night I slept without chanting the names of the cities. This is what he does to me. I'm not joking. This is what he does to me, you know. It's like, but that really got my mind engaged from my baby to my service. It took over my senses. So since then, I booked all his tickets up until his last ticket to come back to Gitanagari to leave his body. I booked all his tickets. So I was his personal secretary, ticket agent for about 5 years. Booked all his tickets. And it's not easy because to please the spiritual master, you have to go above and beyond. You have to go out of your comfort zone. And if he says incomplete, you got to complete it. If it's impossible, you got to make it possible. But that's just how he was. He really was. I remember when I was carrying my first daughter, I was very attached to deity service. At the time, I was serving Nita Gaurasundar and a backup, and it was 8.5 months of my pregnancy. And my god sister said, Anasuya, you're going to be due in 2 weeks. You got to get off the altar. And I said, no, I'm not feeling anything. She says, yeah, you're not going to feel, but we don't want you to give birth on the altar. Believe it or not, in the history of Gitanagari, it happened one time. There was one devotee prophet disciple who had a very fast labor, and she delivered her baby behind the altar of Radha Damodar in Gitanagari. It actually happened. So there's a lot of things that happen in Gitanagari, like whack out way off stuff. Let me tell you, it really did. So then it was like 1 week before my due date, and I still didn't want to get off the altar. And the news got to my spiritual master, and he says, what is Anasuya doing on the altar? She can't even walk. The baby is so big, and she's struggling. And they said, Gurudev, you cannot get off the altar, she won't leave the service. So at one point, my god sister got me go to thy deities, and she says, now will you get off the altar? I said, I still didn't. The next day I came back to do my service. They took my name off the roster. But I showed up anyway, I didn't care. And then the very next day I came back to the altar, and I think my god sister said, you are not coming back. If you come back, we're going to lock the doors. So I never came back, and in 5 days I went into labor, and that's how Vrinda was born. You know, and I remember as soon as she was born, it was born in the winter time, actually, and it was a very long labor. My spiritual master was in DC, and he told Frickshit, you know, as soon as the baby is born, please call me. So as soon as she was born, my husband walked through the snow, because believe it or not, Vrinda was born in about 1 foot of snow. We had to drive to the midwife. That's one thing in Gitanagari is because at that time, Maharaj was promoting, I don't want to use the word promote, he was propagating, encouraging devotees to go on the self-sufficiency consciousness. So many of the mothers did not give birth in a hospital. Many of us had home birth, or we gave birth in an Amish clinic. So, which was like 15-20 miles down from Gitanagari. And so, because we wanted to go the natural way, so all the mothers either had home birth, or we went to this Amish clinic. So my first daughter was in a Amish clinic because we were living at my Gurudev's house. And I remember at that time it was a very long labor. You know, very long. My first daughter was 48 hours back labor. My second daughter was 72 hours back labor. Completely. I thought I was going to die. But, so my husband walked, so she was born in a birthing clinic, but an Amish midwife. My second daughter was born on the floor of our living room, in the same house that Prabhupada lived in Gitanagari. That's where she was born, right in the living room. And my spiritual master, when he heard the child was born, he was so happy. He was so happy that he came to Gitanagari about a week later, and he said, when will I see my granddaughter? So Vrinda was 2 weeks old, and we took him to go see my spiritual master, and that's a beautiful picture actually. He was holding her, and he was playing with her chin. He would play with her nose, and then he said, I don't know whether he didn't name her at that time. he says, I am your grandfather. That's what he said. And do you know why you are here? And she was sleeping, like, whatever, baby, like that is all they do is eat, sleep, and poop the first few months, So she was like sleeping, and he says, because we are here to take you back to Godhead. That's what he said. But he stayed for a month, and he conducted Pravinda's naming ceremony, very personal. And that was his life, very, very, very present. When it came to the new temple building, what is in Gitanagari right now, what we call the new temple, was completed in 2000. What we call the Prasadam Hall in Gitanagari was the first temple room. That was the temple room, that was the Prasadam Hall, that was everything. Everything has changed quite a bit. Maharaj was so involved in the temple construction. All the pictures that you see on the wall in Gitanagari temple was handpicked by Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He personally chose those pictures. He personally purchased them, and he personally got them framed at a framing store in town. He personally chose that. He was so present in every aspect of the temple. I remember he wanted an Anasuya water fountain. Where do you find a Anasuya in USA? So he had me call, every nursery in Pennsylvania. I want a fountain with a lion. I said, Gurudev, where do I find a fountain with a lion? I said, I can find a fountain, not with a lion. He says, it's there. And I said, okay, where, And I searched and searched and searched and searched. I called every nursery, the whole of Pennsylvania. Yellow Pages ki jai at that time, No one had it. And I tried. I said, Gurudev, I cannot find a water fountain with a lion. He says, no, we need Nrsimhadev at the entrance of the new temple. You gotta find it. I said, Gurudev, where do I find it? I called. There was one country, I'll never forget that story. Country Market Nursery. Because that's how much it got ingrained in my mind, I called them and I said, do you have a water fountain with a lion? One last piece, ma'am. I said, please put it on hold. If not, I will die tonight. I said, you gotta put it on hold. So I told my spiritual master, I found one. He says, see, I told you will find it. I said to myself, yeah, a lot of austerity went into that, He personally, then he said, okay, if you were to take me. He personally went to the countryside market nursery, found it, purchased it, and brought it. And that nursery, that fountain is like solid stone. It's not plastic, it's solid stone. He wanted that to be at the entrance of the temple. And so because he says Lord Nrsimhadev is protecting this temple. When it came to the temple installation, the new temple opening, he had all of us make a prayer to Radha Damodar for 1 month. Because they tried so long to get the temple completed, and something or the other, there was a hiccup. And he said, the only way this is going to be completed is if you pray to the deities and if they allow the move. So there was a very senior proper disciple, Mother Kalini. We gave her the service to write the prayer because she was the most senior in Gitanagari. So she wrote a prayer. I'm trying to remember it. She says, Radha Damodar, if you will, if it is your desire, please allow us to take you to your new home. So every time after Mangalarti, we will say that prayer, whole community, for 1 month. And that's how the temple got completed, by Radha Damodar's mercy. And it was done the last weekend of Kartik in 2000. We had crowd, and the day it was snowing that day. Kartik month. It never snows in Kartik month. It snowed, and we had Chandramali Swami. And I remember we had to put, it was fiasco. It was snow all over, and we had to bring the deities and Prabhupada from the old temple to the new temple to the snow. So we had to get tarps and mats and everything to walk the deities from the next building to the other building through the snow. And I remember Chandramali Swami walked with the deities without socks, barefoot from the next one building to the other building. He carried Gonitai. Amazing. Like they didn't feel any cold. They were just walking like it was summertime. This was like, winter with snow. And I was just watching and I said, wow, this is like, out of this world. Sometimes when you see these things, you don't feel like you are in USA. You just feel like you are in the spiritual world. It's like out of this world. So when that happened, then they brought the deities. It was a beautiful 3 days. 3 days. And when the deities got installed, I remember that end of the year, 2000, Maharaj, there's one thing that happened is, Maharaj always has a New Year's Eve vigil. Every year. Every year. He started this tradition in 1998 or 1999. He had a vigil called Music of the Heart. And that is the way to involve every child and adult in the community to have a talent night show. So they would bring out their instruments, whether it be guitar, drums, saxophone, flute, keyboard, and there was a musical talent show. And at the end, he would get gifts for all the kids, and he would give them a gift. And even if they didn't participate and they just danced, he said, you get a gift also. He was so personal like that. And that was to, again, encourage the community to bond, So he did that a lot. In 2000, when the temple was completed, I remember he gave a very powerful class for New Year's Eve in 2000. And he was talking about the potency of Gitanagari. And he said that there are a lot of higher beings that is walking around Gitanagari. And I remember we were sitting in the temple room, and he named few. He says, I see Lord Brahma, I see Narada Muni, and some of them are behind your shoulders, and we were like, scared, like, are they over my shoulder? Like, whose shoulder are they over? Of course, because we don't have the divine vision, only the gurus have it. But he said, the demigods are walking around right now. We were like, like scared, But he says, so we should never take the temple for granted, he says. The temple is a Tirtha. We should never take the temple for granted. This is because there are beings walking around. You can't see it, but they are there. He also said that we should purify ourselves to the point of detachment and surrender, that we can hear the ankle bells of Krishna in the forest. He actually would say that. He says we should really go through all that, whatever it takes to surrender, so that we can hear Krishna's flute. And we can hear the ankle bells of Krishna calling us in the forest. He would always say that. It was very, very powerful points he said. And his travels really increased quite a bit after that. He was a GBC in so many places. In 2000, after the temple was open, he had a desire to have an international Mahavyasa Puja, where we could bring all his disciples all over the world. That was his dream for a long time. And it was very difficult to actually do that, because he had disciples in Africa, in Russia, in Croatia, in Australia, in Mauritius, all over the world, South America, and almost every continent he had disciples. And I'm thinking, how do we do that? So I spoke to a couple of my god sisters. I said, why don't we plan that for Gurudev? Because he's been saying it for so long. So they said, Anasuya, that involves a lot of religious visas. Applications. I said, yeah, I know, but that's his desire. So we tried that. So we started the planning in 2002. And we applied, we had to get a list of all the disciples all over the world. Russia, Croatia, Bosnia, Ukraine, Hungary, my goodness, all parts of Africa, Australia. We got the whole list. And we contacted them and they all wanted to come. But the thing is a visa. So then we had to apply the visas, the tourist visas. I spent 8 months just focusing on visas for all of them. Some of them, many of them could come because the visas were easy to get, but Africa was very difficult. Only Africa was very difficult and Russia was very difficult because they were very, very strict. So not many could come, so they were able to send us 1 or 2 of the representatives. And I remember when they were coming, we had to rent 4 or 5 Econoline vans to pick up because the one was flying from BWR, New Jersey Airport, New York Airport, LaGuardia Airport, BW Airport, and they come in different times. So we had 3 or 4 drivers picking them up on different airports. And when everybody came to Gita Nagari, I was giving daily reports to my spiritual master because he wanted to know. And that's another thing with him. He wants up-to-date report. What's happening, what's not happening, what's going on, what's not going on. Up to date. And if we don't give it to him, he'll say, Anasuya, I didn't get my report, it's overdue. He wants to be so involved, so present. So when I was telling him about all his disciples coming, see, he was getting, day by day, he was smiling more and more and more. He was so happy, so happy. And when all the devotees, they came 3/4 before the festival. So we had to put all the men in one ashram. We call it the Brahmachari ashram. I don't know what they call it now. It's the one behind the gift shop. What's it called now? Cedar Wood or something like that, Harish? What's it called? The one behind the gift shop? By the river, but yeah, it used to be called the Brahmachari. We call it the BA, Brahmachari ashram. Only men lived there, So we put all the men in there, and we put all the women in the temple above, and then we put others in different homes. And I remember that at the time my second daughter was 2 years old, running around. She couldn't keep quiet. But thank God I had the boys to just handle her, because she just wouldn't keep quiet. She not wanted to sit still. And we had to do a lot of arrangements. We had to get the boga, we had to get the cooking, we had to get the menu. It was yag. This one I will reveal, although it's on YouTube, I guess that's okay, but please forgive me, Gurudev. That week, me and my god brother, Advaitacharya, we had a difficult time chanting our rounds. Because we were going to bed at 2 in the morning, getting up at 6 in the morning, and we were just going the whole day, planning the festival. We both could not finish our rounds. And I remember one of my senior god sisters would come and tell us, Advaitacharya, she would call both of us because we were the main people. She said, Advaitacharya and Aham Tikhan, sit and chant. And we're chanting, and our minds are Walmart, this one. We said, Mataji, we gotta go. We have service to do, we gotta go. They said, stop, we gotta go. We couldn't finish our rounds. It was so bad. I remember every night we would hide behind the altar and finish our rounds. Him and I, he'll be in one corner and I'll be on the other. Because at the time he was a brahmachari, so we had to keep the etiquette, So he was on the other end of the hall, I was on this end, and we would chant around the sleep off. And when I knock up, we'll say, Anasuya, get up. Advaita, get up. We couldn't finish our rounds. It was so difficult. And it went on for about a week. I remember that. And the weekend of the festival came. I remember it was the first day. The temple movement in Gitanagari was packed with 500 devotees. Packed from the back to the front. When Maharaj walked in, he was so happy. Every disciples from every country were present. Completely. He was so happy. He was so happy that weekend he danced like an avadut. Really happy. At the end of the function, the whole weekend, again, me and him were chanting me and Advaitacharya. I remember that at the end of the festivals, I wasn't in the festivals because when you're an organizer, you're just running around like a chicken without a head. So you don't kind of feel what's happening. You just let the other devotees enjoy it. You just make sure that the rice doesn't get burned, or the sabji doesn't get burned, or the dal doesn't get burned, that kind of thing. And we try to make the menu very different. Those days we tried to avoid Indian as much because the devotees wanted Italian, Chinese, Mexican, something like that. So we had, American, one time for breakfast we had pancakes and maple syrup and, scrambled curd, like, oh yeah, the devotees wanted to be spoiled, so we spoiled them, We did. We had barbecue tofu, peach cobbler, it was like out of this world prasadam, like real out of this world prasadam. Mac and cheese, lasagna, pizza, we had donuts. Mother Kamagiri made donuts. She's the queen of donuts, Mother Kamagiri. She made donuts. She made kebabs. What else? There was no biryani on the menu, I'll tell you right now. It was not on the menu. There was no jeera rice, there was no lemon rice. It was completely non-Indian, and devotees went berserk. Really, they loved it. And when the devotees are happy, that's how we know that Krishna is happy and the Guru is happy, At the end of the whole festival was over, I remember that Sunday night, I went to my spiritual master, me and Amritachari, but I remember I went to him. I said, Gurudev, I have a confession to make. He said, what did you do now? I said, nothing, but I couldn't finish my rounds for 7 days. I said, every day I couldn't, I was swamped. He gave me a very powerful, he says, Anasuya, you engaged your mind and your senses in my service, and you pleased me. You don't have to make it up. Let the 7 days go. He says, don't make it up, don't carry over. You gave everything, every drop you had in your body to make this festival, and you did not sleep. You were in that mode, that is your chanting, that is your bhajan. So he forgave me, and I was able to continue my new batch of rounds the very next day. Because that weight was really carrying in my heart. I couldn't finish my rounds. Because it was so much to do, so much service from morning till night. He said, that's your bhajan. You're focusing on me. He was very, very happy. Shortly after that, his health went down. We kind of knew because 1 year before his health went down, he was already getting fed up. Lack of a better word. He was saying, I gave you everything I have. Why are you guys so dull? Why are you lazy? He says, be urgent in Krishna consciousness. Don't be dull-minded. I gave you everything. I have spoken in all my lectures. It's all in my books. It's all in my darshan. Why are you still stuck? And that was the time, and it's not only with his disciples, he saw that mode in many temples, wherever he went. Especially with the Grahastha community, because we had so many responsibilities, Everybody was trying to juggle between job, family, services, devotional practices, sadhana, and we were still dull, very dull. And he said, if we do not change, I remember this words very clearly, because if you don't change, Krishna will force you to change. That's what he said. If you don't change, Krishna will force you to change. So you change, or if Krishna comes, you may not like it, it's not going to go your way, but it's going to force you to change, what he said. And we felt like, oh my God, but we have all these responsibilities. And he knows that it's happening all over ISKCON. And that's when he made that Vasudev Datta prayer. That's what made him say that prayer. Whatever is not help, whatever is, blocking the devotees from growing, give it to me, so that the devotees can flourish. I want them to grow in the spiritual life. Give it to me, and they can grow. And it instantly came upon him. Because he was very worried that devotees are not growing spiritually. They're just stagnant. Many sannyasis asked him to take the prayer back, and he wouldn't. One of them was Jayapataka Swami. Maharaj said, Maharaj, please take the prayer back. Please, he said, no. My life is for Prabhupada and for ISKCON and for the devotees. If this is what it's going to take for the whole of ISKCON to grow spiritually and get purified, bring it on to me. When he said that, it started breaking down. The body started breaking down one by one by one. I remember when he was in DC in a hospital, he was going to pick up his bag. Just that action, his collarbone broke. Because the cancer went there. It became like porous, it just broke. And then he couldn't move. That's why all the pictures you will see, he's like this. Because it broke. Because that one thing that he picked up, it just snapped, you know. It was very, very difficult at that moment. We all wanted to leave his body. But at one point, he said, let me go. I want to leave. This body is of no use. At one point, and then we begged him to get treatment. He went to Arizona for treatment. He went to Hawaii for treatment. He went to Mexico for treatment. Nothing came out of it. And at the end he said, it's time for me to check out. And I remember he gave one class, very powerful class, to everybody. He said, make yourself worthy so that I can offer you as one of the flower on Srila Prabhupada's garland. That stuck with me all my life. Stuck with me all my life. And I said to myself, if I can be a petal, I'll be fine. Forget the flower, you know, a petal, I'll be happy. I don't know about that. But he says, make yourself worthy that you can be one of the flower on Prabhupada's garland. And that is the mood of all spiritual masters. That's how can they offer us to Prabhupada's mission. And he repeated that many times, that is the goal of life, is to take, we have to have the urgency of Krishna consciousness. If we are not urgent in Krishna consciousness, then life is just going to become laxy-daisy, procrastination, there's always going to be a tomorrow, why do it today, lots of excuses. But if we have the urgency in Krishna consciousness, we'll do what we should have done today, yesterday. Not tomorrow, but yesterday. That was his mood. He really drilled that topic, urgency in Krishna consciousness, constantly, because that was our last life. We gotta be urgent, we have to have that emergency consciousness. We gotta be urgent and we have to be emergency. We cannot take things as it is. Once we get comfortable, we think, okay, I can chill now. Life is sailing smooth, the boat is going on a smooth water, until the turbulence come, and then we realize, oh my God, what's Krishna? You know? So that's what happened. He was pushing us. I remember when all the treatments didn't work out, they said, okay, let's try amputating your leg. We were devastated, because that's his dancing foot. Devastated. And he gave it up. He gave it up. He says, anything for Prabhupada. This body is not mine, he said. He gave it up. And I remember when his foot got amputated, many of us could not face him. To not see that leg on his foot. It's very difficult. Very difficult. I don't know how he did it. Because his preaching was those legs. Was that dancing. That was his preaching. And that's so when they amputated his leg, he says, my preaching is coming to an end. Because he couldn't dance anymore, So I remember for his last Vyasa Puja, he had his prosthetic leg on. And it was a rousing kirtan. And there was myself and Chintamani and Achyuta and Ekavira trying to stop him because he couldn't sit because the kirtan was so ecstatic. He got up on his prosthetic leg to dance. And here we are telling him sign language, stop, He ignored us. I had to climb on the chair to tell him, stop. He just looked away from me. He says, "You're not stopping me, Anasuya." He danced for 1 hour on the prosthetic leg. He says, "If I have to die now on this leg, I'll die now. But I'm not stopping because of this prosthetic." And he just danced with that leg. He danced, Temple room was full. He really was in the mood of Grandfather Bhishmadev when he was leaving. Very much. He was definitely on a bed of arrows. And I remember the last 3 months of his life when it was very clear that he's definitely leaving, he wants to get out. It was very difficult for us, losing the spiritual master. But at the same time, we had devotees coming in numbers. Every Sunday feast was 400 devotees. Every Sunday feast for 3 months. And I remember that me and my god sister, Mother Padma, she lives in DC. She and I would cook the Sunday feast. We would start at 7 in the morning, 7, 8 o'clock, and get done by 8 p.m. Because we had to keep 400 people, Devotees were coming just to see, because nobody knew when he would leave. So they would say, "I come now or never." So they were coming in their numbers. A lot of sannyasis came. You name it, Radhanath Swami, Jayapataka Swami, Chandramani Swami, Sachidananda Swami, Indradunya Swami, Niranjana Swami. Everybody came to beg him to take his prayer back, and he says no. This body, he says, even I take it back, what's the point? My body's down to ruins. Nothing I can do with this body. Once I just leave, there's nothing that I can do with this body. It's just nothing but, a mess, is what he said. And then Jayapataka Swami told him, "Maharaj, at least leave the body in Mayapur." He says, "No, I want to leave it here." And Maharaj says, "I will arrange a private jet for you." Jayapataka Swami was willing to do anything to travel, to bring Bhakti Swami to Mayapur in a comfortable position. So I'll do anything. I'll book you 5 seats, I'll get you a private plane, I'll do anything. Come to Mayapur. He says, "No, I want to leave my body in Titanagari." He says, because devotees need to know and learn that every temple is a Tirtha. It's not only Mayapur and Vrindavan that we leave our bodies and then we go back. It says every temple is a holy dham. And then he added, any temple where Prabhupada was worshipped as a holy dham. Is what he said. And he says, devotees should know and believe that even if they leave their body in any temple in America, it's a holy dham. Because Prabhupada was worshipped there. They don't have to go to Mayapur. They don't have to go to Vrindavan. They don't have to go to India. Leave in your temple. And then he said, this is the temple that I served. My last battlefield. So I want to leave my body here. And show everybody that wherever you leave, that's the holy dham. I remember his last flight back from, I think it was Mexico or Arizona, back to Gitanagi, when he says, no hope. We were trying to get a ticket for him. That was my last ticket agent service for my spiritual master. And that was a very challenging one because we had to get a ticket where they would allow him to bring his oxygen tank on the plane. We had to get doctors, permission, airport authorities. It took a lot of work. Finally, we got a flight, and I forgot which flight it was. Finally, we got a flight that would allow him to come on the plane with his oxygen tank, first class. And when he would sit and he had his disciples, and he would put his leg on the laps of his disciples. Because he couldn't put it down because of the seats, So he would sit facing the window of the plane, and then he would put his foot, that one leg he had on the laps of his disciples, 3-4 seats. That was his life. Very, very personal life. When he was leaving, when he was his last darshan, the last 3 months of his life, he did a lot of crying. And that was his Vipralamba Seva mood. Wanted to go back to Krishna. He got tired of this world at that time. He was so tired. I remember at one point he told all his disciples, please don't pray for me to stay. I want to go back. And then he said, you really love me, let me go. Now that was the test of faith for a disciple. When the way he said it, it was very difficult for us because we all love our spiritual master. But when he said, if you love me, let me go, that was the test of faith. That was very painful. So we all prayed. Okay, we cannot see our spiritual master suffering. Take him in your service. And then we had to make a difficult prayer. When his last darshan that he had was the one that Radhanath Swami speaks about, that he had in the lawn in front of his house. That was the biggest crowd we had. And we had to cook the feast twice because everybody knew that was his last darshan. After that, he was not going to, appear. And shortly after that, I remember the doctors were saying that he had 72 hours to live, 3 days. And we were preparing ourselves mentally. The Maharaj would leave. Then the next day they said was down to 16 hours. It's changed from 72 to 16 the very next day. And then after a while, the second they said now it's 6 hours. It just kept changing each day, getting less, whatever. There was one pastime, I don't know if any of you heard this, probably you have heard it from Radhanath Swami. A week or so before he was leaving, Radhanath Swami was in a room with my spiritual master. And and my Gurudev told Radhanath Swami, Maharaj, you want to come with me to Goloka Vrindavan? And Maharaj says, with you anywhere I'll go, Maharaj, because I know we'll dance together. Then he said, Maharaj, why are you asking? He said, because I see my chariot is in my room. And there are 2 seats. So there's 1 extra seat. You want to come with me? Maharaj said, no problem. And after a while, my brother says, no, they'll leave you here. I'll go first. But I'll see who's going to come in an empty seat, because there's a seat next to it. Because the chariot was in his room that he could see for 1 week. It was in his room. And before the chariot came, he had a key, and he said that he saw Tamal Maharaj. Tamal Maharaj came to him and said, Prophet is waiting for you. When are you going to come? What's taking you so long? And my Gurudev said, there are a few things I have to tie up. Just do it soon. Because we're waiting for you, the Prophet is waiting for you, and here's a chariot. So don't take too long. Come soon. So here, on this side of the world, you have the disciples and devotees saying, don't go. And on the other side of the world, you have devotees and prophets saying, come soon. That tear, was pretty intense. So when Maharaj decided to spend with the 6 hours, I remember very clearly, we were all in the institute house, in his house. And there were devotees in his room. Mother Sangeeta, who was a prophet disciple in a hospice nurse, and she was there. And we were all sitting, and each of us came in and took darshan and came off. At the time, both my girls we all were there. I remember carrying Brinda on my hip. Vishaka was on there, but she had bronchitis that day. Took her to the hospital, the doctor's office, medicine, came back, and she was sleeping on the couch in his house. And she was drugged up. She was on antibiotics, so she was knocked out. And I remember carrying Brinda with me, and we went and saw my Gurudev, and I looked at him, and she looked at him. And I have never seen Brinda that morose, actually. She was very small, I don't think she remembers at the time. She looked very morose. She just looked at my spiritual master. She just stared at him. And then it came down to 3 hours, 3-4 hours less. And we all came out so the devotees can take turn. So, because the room was very small, they had a TV in the living room, so we can see him live. And I remember standing there and watching his breathing, Because when they leave, it's very slow. Each breath comes very slow, So we were counting, and we looked at it. and we are praying, one more breath. The breath comes. One more breath. It comes. And he looked, and he stared. The breath never came. The whole room screamed. It was like you could feel him leaving. And he just left so peacefully. And we thought, let's wait another minute. You know the mind plays games, you know. I said, no, wait. Probably it's taking a long time for the breathing. Wait about 2 or 3 minutes. Breath never came. That's when we knew he left. 3:35 p.m. June 27th. It was a very difficult time to lose the Guru. But at the same time, it was very ecstasy because the devotees were ready to cook a feast for him that night before they took his body. So that's when we cooked all his favorites. The barbecue curd, the paneer pakoras, the mac and cheese, the donuts. Devotees were so ecstatic that they had chapan bowl for him, literally. And they bathed his body. I remember Chandramani Swami was there, Radhanath Swami was there, Dhanadhar Swami was there. And they had few devotees carry the body of my spiritual master. The reason they carried his body through the woods is because my Gurudev used to write his books in the woods. That's why they carried his body through the woods. And that path goes from the institute house to the temple, directly. That's the path he would always walk on and sit in the corner and write his books in the woods. And I remember my husband had the good fortune to be one of the pallbearers who carried his body through the woods. And till today, the water that they bathed his body was distributed to all the devotees. After 20 years, I still have 1 gallon of my Guru's bathing body in my house. Still there, full, in my basement. And you put Gurudev's bathing body water, which is last time that we had, they gave it very freely. And we had ecstatic kirtan, devotees came up. I remember when I went up take his last darshan of his feet felt very cool, like the fall, very cool, not cold, cool. It was so smooth. And there was a glow in his body. There was this, there was a sunshine from his feet. Very, very cool, very warm. He looked very peaceful. And then they came and took the body away. And that's when they had the cremation. A week later, they had a service from Maharaj. Jatapata Swami came for that. He was there for 2-3 days, Jatapata Swami. He met with all the disciples, actually, and really gave them a lot of consolation. One of the services that Bhakti Swami asked Jatapata Swami is, please take up my disciples. So if you go to Jatapata Swami's website, he has a list of services that he has to fulfill for Prabhupada and for his godbrothers, and one of it is to care for baby Swami disciples. So he made the promise to my spiritual master that he would take care of us. And he has, till today. When we tell him, we go to him, he gives us attention. He has never said no. I remember after that, it took me about 1 year to actually go back to my Gurudev's room. I couldn't enter the house. It was very, very painful for me. Very, very painful. Literally, my 2 godbrothers had to drag me out of the car and lift me into his room. Because it was very, very painful for me. Of course, I went to his room and I really cried because it was Vipalamba separation. But from that passing, I actually learned how a spiritual master's life is not forever. When they come and when they give and when they go, they have to be in an emergency consciousness. We have to take every moment very seriously. We have to take our spiritual lives very seriously. We should try not to postpone and procrastinate and believe in the spiritual master. 100%. No one else. Focus on the spiritual master. And he will take us to Prabhupada, take us to Lord Chaitanya, take us to Radha Krishna. Only the Guru can do that. Until today, I was just telling one devotee a couple of days ago is that till today I actually feel that my spiritual master is in one of the countries. I don't think he has actually left. The only time I feel that he has left is when I speak about him. Because I'm always on a service mode, you know, I'm running on adrenaline. And because I said, yeah, he's in Croatia, he's in Russia, you know, he'll come back, you know. So I run on that mode, you know. It's only when I speak about him is when I realize he's actually not here. And many devotees have asked me this question, Anasuya, how do you run and you don't fall? Like I keep going and going and going and going. And I said it's because of my Guru's mercy. It's complete Guru Shakti. Because when I go home at night, I crash like a human being. I die. Like my body hurts, you know. But when the only way we can survive a Krishna consciousness is the Guru's mercy. They can give us strength, they can give us empowerment, they can give us Shakti, they can give us anything and everything we want as long as we have the desire and the determination to serve Sri Prabhupada. So I really want to conclude that that is the mood of all spiritual masters. They want us to serve Prabhupada. They want to offer us to Prabhupada. So our meditation should be, how can I make myself qualified so that my spiritual master can offer me at the feet of Sri Prabhupada? That should be our meditation. So that whatever we do, however we act, however we behave, people don't need to know, oh, they shouldn't ask you who's your Guru. Just by your action, they should know who's your Guru. That was my Guru's training. You just behave and they'll say, are you Jiva's disciple? Of course, just by the nature. That is how much we should, exude our spiritual master's mood. Just by our actions, our behavior, our language, our dealings, they can tell without asking, this is a so-and-so disciple. This is a so-and-so disciple. It comes by action. And once we do that, then we know that we have pleased our spiritual master, you know. I in no way have completed my course, I'll be honest. I'm still on the path of purification. It doesn't end. It doesn't end until our last breath. But I feel very blessed and fortunate that I had a short 12 years of my life in my spiritual master. Learned a lot. And I want to thank Yogeshwar Prabhu and the whole Farmington Hills congregation for allowing me to share a little bit of my Gurudev's glories and how important he was in the lives of many spiritual masters. Radhanath Swami, Chandramali Swami, Jayapataka Swami, Sachinanda Swami, Niranjana Swami, Gopal Swami, Bhakti Swami. They were very, very, very close. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So thank you very much, it was wonderful. I want you to extend 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes, okay. Yes.
I heard, at least 3 vacations. I don't know so much. So Maharaj was visible, devotees saw him 3 times.
Prabhu, can you, I'm trying to hear your words. Closer.
So I heard some devotees, I don't know whether you know the truth better than I do.
I hope.
Yeah. In different places, devotees saw Maharaj after he left the world.
Oh! One was Africa. Another one was Loknath Swami. The day that he left his body, it was 3:35 US time. It's 9 hours later or 10 hours later in India. The news didn't get to India instantly at that time. Loknath Swami had a dream of my spiritual master. And Maharaj came to Loknath Swami to say, I'm leaving. And Loknath Swami says, where are you leaving? He says, but this is not a dream, you know. He says, you just came to Mayapur. We didn't finish the meetings yet. Why do you have to go back? He says, no, I'm leaving. Prabhupada's calling me. He says, Prabhupada is calling you? What do you mean? And then he says, you mean you're leaving? He says, yes, my time is up. So when Loknath Swami woke up, he came out of his room and he saw a lightning at the top of a building. And he saw my spiritual master waiting. Loknath Swami saw that, yeah. And that's how Loknath Swami knew that Maharaj left his body. Because the news didn't get that fast to India yet. Yeah. Another incident was in Africa. I think a week or two after they had 2 weeks after they had his ceremony, they had, huge, because he had a very high position in Africa. He was one of the chief tribes, or one of the tribes in Nigeria and in Ghana. So they had a huge hall of function. And one person who is not a devotee, not even a regular comer, they had beautiful arrangements and they had a beautiful picture of my spiritual master. And she was seeing and watching all the glory that was happening, all the glorifications, And she was a new person, a Christian or something or whatever. And she was enjoying the whole program. And at the end of the program, they allowed the guests to come up and speak to the organizers. So this person asked the organizer, I think she asked, I don't think it was Srivastava Prabhu, one of the leaders in an African temple. So why are you celebrating this for this man? And he said, because he passed away. Who passed away? And this devotee said, my spiritual master, the one in the picture. She said, he didn't pass away, he was here. And he said, ma'am, for a disciple that Gustav comes a little bit, that arrogant, he passed away 2 weeks ago in the US. No, he was standing. And then he said, where was he standing? And she said, when you all were having your hymns, meaning kirtan, which was using the Christian language, when you all were singing, he was standing at the corner like this, in all white. I saw him. He didn't pass away. That's when we knew that he was checking out his yatras. Yes.
Second one I heard, but the first one, Loknath Maharaj, first time hearing.
Oh, yeah. And it was one time in Gitanagri, my husband, because we knew that my spiritual master loves lemon pie. There are some flavors that he liked, so for 1 year, many of us couldn't have those preps. It's very difficult, So my husband said, don't cook, go to his flavors, it's too much for me, so we stopped. So there was one time, there was one joke about Bhakti Swami. Every Nirjala Ekadasi, it was very austere for him. Because he's a go-getter, So by 5 p.m., he'll call my husband, Pritchett, let's go to Walnut Down. Just to kill time. He says, my stomach is hungry. I need to change my mind. Take me out. So Pritchett would take me to Walmart. 2-3 hours, just roam around, just eat. Okay, so now he'll go to bed, take me back, But the way he would call us is Pritchett. That's what he called my husband. So after my Gurudev left the planet, my husband went to Walmart to shop. And he heard my spiritual master called him, "Hey, Richard!" And he turned. He actually heard my brother calling the store in Walmart, "Hey, Richard!" Yeah. Some of us have actually, because he did say that he will be more present after he leaves. He did say that. And he said, "I will be more present to you more after I leave than I am in this body." And I have seen it happen. Like I was telling the Vaishni Sangha yesterday, like whenever me and my husband have arguments, I go pray to my spiritual master. I said, "Gurudev, come deal with your son." And then he'll say, "Gurudev, go deal with your daughter." That's the mood we had. Every time I have a concern, anything that's bothering me, anything, I go to my spiritual master's picture every day. Every night I talk to him. Anything. Sometimes when I'm going to the temple driving for my service, it's just me in the van. When I'm kind of like disturbed or sad or whatever, I'll talk to him like he's sitting right next to me. And it's like I'm having a conversation with him, like that. And he says, "Talk to me, come to me. I will be present, So I take that very strongly in my heart, that the spiritual master is definitely more present even after he leaves. Because I do see, like for my first daughter, after my spiritual master left, because she was 9 years old when he left, so she was a bit older, it really affected her. For 1 year, because she was very attached to my spiritual master. So for 1 year, she cried. She used to write letters, and she would put under her pillow, in my bag, under my car. And one letter, I remember she said, she was having some downtime at that age in her life, and she said, "Dear Gurudev, dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Radha Damodar, why did you take my Gurudev away from me so early?" And then she said, and I said, "Gurudev, why did you leave me? Because if you were here, you would make it all better for me." That's what she would say. That connection. And that's why he was so present in all the grand disciples on the lives, because they had the connection with him, that they can write to him. They can talk to their, to him. Because that's why he made sure that he did all the naming ceremonies, attended their concerts, did their grain ceremony, because that to build that relationship. So now these same kids who are now adults, they go to my spiritual master like it's theirs. It's like a lifelong relationship. So yeah, the devotees have had dreams about my spiritual master. I know I've had a dream of him when I was in the hospital, when I had a serious heart condition, and I was, doctor said that had I come 2 hours later, I would have actually left my body in 2008 on Golden Puja. And I remember having a prayer that night, praying to my Gurudev. And in the hospital, he appeared into my dream and he said, "Anasuya, relax. Don't worry. I'm here. I'll solve the problem." Then he disappeared in the dream. So he is very much present. Very much present. Many of us have had different episodes, dreams, messages, So what he said is true. Yes. Thank you, Guru.
So, let us express our gratitude to Anasuya Mataji. God, you are Vrinda or what is your name?
Vrinda, Manoharini Vrinda, yes.
So, Manoharini Vrinda Mataji. Let us express our gratitude to them by loudly chanting 3 times Haribo. Chanting as though you have not eaten for past 10 days.
I think because I spoke too much of French fries and cheesecake and all that, Prabhu. Made them more hungry so they will be weak.
So we have to ensure that she comes back again. So million times much louder. 3 times Haribo. Anasuya Mataji. Vrinda Mataji. Thank you very much. And actually, you're a genuine representative of Swami, and we are so happy that you're here. And so we have a feeling of this one.
Only Mother Mercy of my spiritual master.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So we used to regularly, that parade, regularly would come to Tirtha, isolated.
Yes.
So, that's it.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Huge initiation happened in Tirtha.
Many times after the so many initiations happened. Actually, no, I'm sure she must have many more pastimes. Yeah. Yeah. So, what is your schedule today?
Miss Primpaladi.
Priyanka is not here.
Pushpabhishek is. I don't have anything else happening today, right? No, I don't. No. Yesterday I had a packed day. Today I'm aram.
You're going to okay, today.
I'm leaving tomorrow in the morning flight. Yeah.
After here, mother is going there.
That's right.
6:30 she has a Detroit tour. 6:30 she has a Detroit temple tour.
Yeah, the last time I came to Detroit was in '95. 30 years ago. Because at that time, my Gurudev was co-GBC at the time with Ravanna Prabhu and Mother Malati. So there was some issues, like all temples have, we know that. So he was there and he was conducting initiation ceremonies and Vedic ceremony. So we came for that. That was the first and the last time. And I haven't been to Detroit since 1995. Yeah, it was. I know my Gurudev came for one of the Rath Yatras in 2001 or 2002, and I remember that he danced until his clothes, which is nothing new, he's drenched like anything, and then he went back and changed and came out, and then also got drenched. Twice it got drenched because he dances so much. But there was one of the Rath Yatras in Detroit. It was 2001 or 2002, something like that. He came. Yeah.
Because all the devotees to please take prasad and come back. Actually, let us finish. But in Galupada, we need to only take prasad. We can come back.
The last of the
Huh?
last day of the last.
They take prasad.
Namaste,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Such a nice lecture.
Thank you.
And, you have taken me to your Guru. I feel that I am with him.
Thank you. Thank you.
And my mother-in-law's name is Anasuya.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
I was married to a man who was born to
Oh
Anasuya.
Wonderful. So blessed.
Thank you so much. Your Guru is with you now. We can feel it in my heart. Thank you. That's it. Namaste.
Wonderful name. You But it's good looking. Yeah.
I have to watch. One is just graduated and went to work. Another one is 11.
Oh, okay. Nice. Wonderful. You too.
We have a Mataji visual Bhakti.
Okay.
Your voice, there's something was, we can talk to the doctor.
Really? Which will Bhakti?
Yeah, she's a doctor.
Okay.
I will do this.
Okay.
Your voice exact similar to her.
Really? Amazing. Thank you. You too. Thank you.
You can start from Amma. I have both of you, but whatever you like, Amma has to do that. Can you cook? We can One was falling, well, the other one didn't fall about it. So they go together every morning. If you want to go to check on me, we both go every morning. Yeah, we come back, for sure. You know? No problem.
Oh, grab your bag.
Your blessings.
Okay.